Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly MMA Cycles Market Update. Today is Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. I'm Gianni Di Poce, your host. We have stocks down slightly on the day, but we did have a significant rally yesterday as we saw Saturn move into the sign of Aries over the weekend, as well as a trine signature between the Sun and Pluto. Of course, it is a shortened trading week due to the Memorial Day holiday on Monday, and so we only have a few days left in the month of May. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on in the market right now. We do have the FOMC minutes to be released, the minutes from the Fed's last meeting. And we're going to see what their plans are when it comes to the next rate cut potentially. So we have been discussing the Jupiter-Saturn square for quite some time and how the last two exact passages coincided with some sort of pivot or move from the Fed. So the next one's going to be on June 15th. The next Fed meeting is on June 18th, which actually happens to be the day that that Jupiter forms a square to Neptune. But in the near term, aside from the FOMC meeting, we do have Nvidia earnings. So the Nasdaq is basically flat on the day. Vipka just released the MMA monthly tech report. Nvidia is up on the day. Vipka does provide updates on what's happening with Nvidia as well as other tech names on a monthly basis. But this is actually a pretty bullish chart set up here. And we'll see if there's additional follow through to the upside. But we've seen semiconductors overall, the overall sector. Take a look at SMH, the ETF here, outperform and do very well coming off of that low from April 7th. So maybe a function of Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. And of course, we have to look forward to Uranus ingressing into the sign of Gemini on July 7th. And that's going to set us up for that trine signature between Uranus and Pluto. Won't be exact this year, but it does kick off a 6-passage signature between these two outer planets that are, put it this way, notorious for creative destruction. Last time we had them in the trine signature was in 1920, and it corresponded to the Roaring Twenties and a lot of technological innovation. I actually wrote about that in Ray's free weekly column a few weeks ago, which, by the way, I will be writing the free weekly column this week. So be sure to check that out. It'll be released on Friday. So I have my eyes here on semiconductor and tech overall. The NASDAQ is flat, but really displayed some notable leadership yesterday. Could be a short-term cyclical bottom on our hands here. Bonds, on the other hand, are still struggling to sustain a bid. We did get a nice rally off of that low last week. Everybody looking to the FOMC minutes for guidance on what the Fed's going to do. Crude oil still remains rather subdued in terms of prices. We are looking for that long-term bottom. Puyan's been talking about it for a long time. You know, Saturn's now in Aries, so could that have been the low with Saturn in Pisces back here on April 9th? It's a possibility, although the potential for some additional downside cannot be ruled out entirely. You take a look at gold and silver. They also are chopping around near their highs. Silver down a little bit more than gold. There are some cycles that are maturing in this space, although I am staying open-minded to the possibility of a blow-off top, a blow-off rally, especially in silver. And the reason is because Jupiter will be ingressing into the sign of Cancer on June 9th. And so between Jupiter and Cancer, Cancer being ruled by the moon rules silver, and Neptune in Aries, which has the sun exalted in that sign, the sun obviously rules gold. Those are two inflationary planets in signs that point toward potential gains in precious metals. So it may not happen immediately, but at some point, I do expect precious metals to have another notable run to the upside. The US dollar is trying to make a little bit of a comeback here. In the near term, I do have my sights on Venus ingressing into the sign of Taurus. That's going to be next week on June 6th, and going to be pretty important, not just for currencies, but also crypto markets. You know, Bitcoin rallying to a new all-time high last week, confirming that the bull trend is alive and well. Seeing a little bit of a pullback here, but on that note, when it comes to Venus in Taurus, that transit is notorious for 20% or greater moves in one direction or another. So, you know, I am looking for more upside here. And so if we kind of just go sideways for the next couple of days and build out another base above this technical resistance zone going into Venus in Taurus. I think that's going to open the door for more gains to the upside. Ethereum holding up better than Bitcoin. Its posturing continues to improve. We do have a new crypto report that's coming down the pipeline. I encourage you to stay tuned for that. It's going to be written by MMTA graduate Jeremy Osting. So we'll have details for you on that front in the next month or so. But Ethereum holding its gains very nicely here. This is bullish price action. And the question now, is it just going to go sideways into Venus's ingress into Taurus, or will it explode higher and then pull back? Actually, you know, Ethereum tends to like Venus more in Libra more than Venus in Taurus, but we do know that cryptocurrencies do tend to follow one another for the most part. And so that's really what's going on now. Like I said, we have the shortened trading week. There has been the saying in markets of sell in May and go away, although I'm more inclined to think that May was probably a better opportunity to buy and stay. So buy in May and stay versus sell in May and go away. If we did have a major cyclical reset back at this April low, then it does point to additional gains on the horizon. And with Jupiter going into Cancer, you know, that is pretty good for stimulus opportunities. So at some point, I do expect the Fed to pivot. I'm going to be talking a bit about the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that is basically in orb now in the sign of Aries. And as it pertains to the Fed, I'm going to be covering that in greater detail in this week's free weekly column. So be sure to check that out. It's going to be published Friday evening. And in the meantime, there is a link in this video's description, but we are starting the 6-week financial astrology, the basics of financial astrology short-term educational course this Saturday on May 31st. So I hope that you can join us. It's going to be hosted by Ray Merriman and myself. We're going to be taking you through 6 weeks of basic and intermediate term level or intermediate level financial astrology, covering the basics from planetary rulerships, signs, how to determine reversal zones in financial markets as well. It's a great place for those that are looking to get involved with MMTA to start their educational journey with us. It will help you if you don't have the strongest astrology background to familiarize yourself with the vocabulary and language that we are going to be using in MMTA, which starts on September 27th. So the link to join us is at the bottom of this video in the description. So feel free to check it out. If you want to find out more details, you can visit www.mmacycles.com. As I mentioned, the monthly tech report was just published in addition to the monthly addendum plus and the grains report. So you can check that out and see all of our reports and educational content at www.mmacycles.com. But right now, the excitement is going to be happening in the astrology course, great for beginners and intermediate level individuals. If you want to learn more about financial astrology, this is the place to have it throughout the summer on Saturdays, 12 p.m. Eastern. Hope you can join us. Hope to see you there. Talk to you soon.